I'm 78 years old, and there's something I need to tell you something no one ever told me when I was young. For most of my life, I believed that being a good woman meant always saying yes. Yes to my husband. Yes to my children. Yes to my parents, my friends, my job. I thought love meant sacrifice. I thought strength meant endurance. I thought disappearing for others made me valuable. I was wrong. I spent nearly 6 decades trying to be everything for everyone, the ideal wife, the devoted mother, the reliable daughter, the dependable employee. I did everything I was supposed to do. And what did it give me in return? Exhaustion, quiet resentment, and a life that never truly felt like my own. 7 years ago, everything changed. My husband passed away after 42 years of marriage. And suddenly, for the first time in my adult life, I was completely alone. Not just lonely, lost. What terrified me wasn't only losing him, it was realizing I didn't know who I was without him. For my entire life, I had been defined by my role in someone else's story, someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's support system. But who was I without any of that? I couldn't answer that question, and that scared me more than grief ever did. Let me take you back. I got married at 22. It was the late 1962, very different times. Women weren't encouraged to dream big, or if we were taught to keep those dreams quiet. My mother told me, if you have a good husband, everything else will work itself out. So I married a good man, and I became a good wife. I cooked, I cleaned, I raised children, I supported his ambitions, I smiled when expected, I stayed silent when necessary. And no, I wasn't miserable. I loved my children deeply. There were happy moments, but there was always a small voice inside me asking, is this all? I ignored that voice for decades. When I was 35, I wanted to go back to school. I loved literature. I dreamed of teaching, but life was busy. The kids needed me. Money was tight. Later, I was told. So I waited. When the kids grew up, there was retirement to plan for, aging parents to care for, another later. At 55, I thought it was finally my turn until my daughter needed help with her children. How could I choose myself then? So I waited again, and then at 71, my husband died. And suddenly, there was no one left to wait for. Here's what no one tells women, especially women of my generation. We were taught that self-sacrifice was virtue, that our worth came from how much we gave, not who we were. But that belief is a lie. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot love fully when you've abandoned yourself. You cannot give everything away and expect to feel whole. After my husband passed, I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked tired, small, invisible. The first year was the hardest. I had nowhere to be, no one to serve. My entire identity had been built around other people. Then, about a year and a half later, I found an old letter, one my husband had written before we were married. In it, he wrote about my intelligence, my curiosity, my potential. I cried holding that letter because I realized something painful. That woman, the one he believed in, I had slowly erased her, not overnight, but choice by choice, year by year. At 72 years old, I made a decision. I decided it wasn't too late. I enrolled in college classes, literature, philosophy, art history. I was the oldest student in every room, and I didn't care. For the first time in decades, I felt alive. I started traveling, small trips at first, places I dreamed of seeing but always postponed. And then I did something radical. I started saying no. No to things I didn't want. No without guilt. No without explanations. And the world didn't fall apart. People adjusted. And I finally felt free. I'm 78 now. And for the first time in my life, I know who I am. Not someone's role, not someone's obligation, just me. But here's the part that hurts the most. I spent 60 years living the life I thought I should live instead of the life I wanted. 60 years I'll never get back. So hear me when I say this. You are not selfish for having dreams. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. Waiting is the most dangerous habit we have. Waiting for the kids to grow up, waiting for the right moment, waiting for permission. That moment rarely comes. Your life is not a rehearsal. This is the only one you get. You can love your family and still want more. You can be responsible and still pursue your dreams. You can be kind without shrinking yourself. Please don't wait 72 years to learn what I did. Take up space. Say no when you mean no. Say yes to the life calling you. Your younger self is counting on you, and your older self will thank you. I've only lived 6 years for myself, but they've been the best 6 years of my life. You still have time, but only if you start now.